Dostoevsky, the man who saw hell and wrote the manual. Notes from Underground and the Birth of Modern Psychology, December 22, 1849. Semyonovsky Square, St. Petersburg. Snow on the ground, biting cold, and 3 men tied to execution posts. One of them is Fyodor Dostoevsky, 28 years old, a budding writer, sentenced to death for reading banned books. The firing squad takes position, 20 rifles aimed. The priest offers a final blessing. Dostoevsky looks to the sky for the last time. The soldiers raise their weapons. They point. The officer raises his hand to give the final command. And then, a messenger arrives galloping. Letter from the Tsar. Breaking news. Sentence commutation. Dostoevsky will not be executed. He will be sent to Siberia. 4 years of hard labor, plus 6 more years of military exile. The men are untied. One of them, Grigoriev, immediately goes mad. His mind cannot withstand the reversal. Dostoevsky staggers. He breathes, and something within him breaks and is reborn. In the next few minutes, you'll discover why that moment created the first psychologist of the unconscious. 3 decades before Freud. Why did that man, having looked death in the eye, write the most profoundly brutal truths about the human mind that no one had ever read before, and that you are about to read today? And why in 2025, in a world of online therapy, mindfulness apps, and endless optimization, Dostoevsky knows more about you than you know about yourself? You will meet the underground man, the most honest and disturbing character in world literature. You'll understand how Dostoevsky anticipated Jung and mapped out ego, shadow, and superego before those concepts even existed. And you'll discover why he said, man doesn't want happiness, he wants freedom, even if that freedom destroys him. This is not academic literary analysis. It's spelunking of the soul. And you are about to descend into the underground and discover something about this incredible author that will make you leave this video and reread, if you have already read, the work of this master of literature. If you're ready to discover the side of yourself that you hide from everyone, even yourself, leave a like now. Because Dostoevsky neither forgives nor hides anything. He simply shows. Let's begin. The man who died and was reborn. Dostoevsky returns to his cell after his near execution. His hands tremble for 3 days, not from fear, from something worse, absolute clarity. He writes to his brother Mikhail, life is a gift. Every minute can be an eternity of happiness. Youth knows so little. Now changing my life, I am reborn in a new form, reborn as a new creature. But the new form is not peaceful spiritual enlightenment. It's something much stranger, darker, more subterranean, because in the next 10 years, 4 in a Siberian prison, 6 in military exile, Dostoevsky would discover something that psychology would only confirm a century later. You don't know yourself, and the part you don't know absolutely controls almost everything in your life. Siberian prison is hell, not because of the cold, although in winter it reaches 40 degrees, not because of the food, although it's moldy bread and watery soup, but because of the company. Other prisoners. Dostoevsky is a man of brilliant mind and intellectual, son of a doctor, educated, cultured class. The other prisoners are murderers, rapists, thieves, men whom Russian society of his time classified as inferior beings, human scum. And Dostoevsky, with all his Enlightenment education, with all his belief in the innate goodness of man, arrives expecting to find, what? Victims of society? Noble souls corrupted by poverty? No. Find something deeper and more challenging than that. He finds complete human beings complex, contradictory, capable of unexpected tenderness one moment and gratuitous diabolical cruelty the next. They hate him for who he is, a privileged man, a man who can study, an intellectual, but on the other hand, They also protect him when he has epileptic seizures. They steal almost everything from him, but they take care of him and share his last piece of bread when he is sick. And one night, Easter 1850, something happens that changes everything. The prisoners are drunk, a pandemonium, violent, shouting obscenities. Dostoevsky, disgusted, isolates himself in a corner and thinks, these men are animals. There is no hope for them. But then, a memory surfaces, unsolicited, uninvited. He is 9 years old. It's on the family property, on land that stretches almost to the edge, in the forest behind the house. And suddenly, he imagines hearing a wolf. Absolute panic. He runs, screams, and falls. And then he feels strong hands grabbing him. It's Marais, a servant, illiterate, dirty, rotten teeth, smells of vodka and sweat. By the standards of Russian society at the time, he was considered the ordinary insignificant, less than a human being. But Marais takes the boy Dostoevsky. She hugs him. She caresses his face. She makes the sign of the cross over him, and she whispers with infinite tenderness, "Everything is all right, my little one. I am here and I will protect you. Don't be afraid. Christ is here with you." And that childhood memory, 24 years later in a Siberian prison, explode in Dostoevsky's mind. He looks again at the drunken prisoners, and he sees Marais. He begins to see the soul in them. He sees human beings, not angels, of course not, nor demons, much less, but simply true humans, capable of the worst and the best in life, sometimes in the same day, at the same moment. Jung would call this an encounter with the collective shadow. The shadow is not merely evil, that is all we deny. And Russian society denied these poor men, these outcasts, denied them humanity. This would never be offered to prisoners. It classified them as inferior. But Dostoevsky, forced to live among them for 4 years, could no longer deny it. They are just like me, and they were exactly like him. Freud would add something further. Dostoevsky was confronting the civilized id-European education teaches that humans are rational, that civilization tames wild impulses. But in prison, without social masks, Dostoevsky saw and discovered the purest truth. Civilization is just a thin veneer over chaos, and anyone, capable of the most diabolical barbarity, including him. Have you ever looked at someone with disgust and thought, I would never be like that? So you're doing exactly what Dostoevsky did before his imprisonment, projecting your shadow, exiling to others the parts of yourself that you don't want to see. But prison forces contact, it forces a mirror. And when Dostoevsky gets out 10 years later, he is no longer a naive idealist. He became the most profound and brutal literary psychologist. In a few minutes, you will meet the most disturbing character Dostoevsky ever created. A man decides to do something radical. Stop lying. Stop pretending. And he simply begins to tell the truth about human beings. And this truth will make you laugh. And then make you look in the mirror. Don't leave now. Stay there. Enjoy, like, subscribe, and comment on what's going through your head. Dostoevsky returns to St. Petersburg in 1859. 10 years in Siberia. He is 38 years old, epileptic, poor, married to a sick woman, and he begins to write. But he doesn't write uplifting stories about redemption. No, sir, he certainly doesn't write socialist propaganda. He writes something that no one had written before. The stark truth about what happens inside a human mind when all the masks fall. And in 1864, he published Notes from Underground, The Underground Man, a self-portrait of modern consciousness. I'm a sick man. I'm a bad man. I have no attractive qualities. I think I have a liver problem. This is how it begins. Notes from Underground, not with heroism, not with hope, but with a raw resentment. The narrator, known only as the Underground Man, is a retired former civil servant. He lives alone. He has no friends. He spends his days in the basement of a building in St. Petersburg thinking, analyzing and hating, and the first thing he does is attack you. I bet you all think I'm justifying myself, asking for sympathy. Well, I'm not. You can all go to hell. Why does Dostoevsky create such a repulsive character? Because he wants to show something that European literature of his time denied. Hyperconsciousness is a disease. The underground man is not ignorant. He is too smart, he thinks too much. He analyzes too much. And this endless analysis completely paralyzes him. He tells a story. 20 years ago, he was insulted by an officer. In a bar, the officer simply grabbed the underground man by the shoulders and moved him around, as if he were a piece of furniture, an object, invisible. Any normal person would react in the moment, or forget about it later. But what about the underground man? No, he obsessed for years. He plans revenge. He devises scenarios. He goes to the same street where the officer usually walks. He plans to bump into him accidentally, to prove that he exists, that he has substance. And then, at the crucial moment, he hesitates. He swerves. He lets the officer pass. And he returns home hating himself even more. Jungian. The underground man has a weak ego and a gigantic shadow. His entire conscious identity is built around being intellectually superior. But his shadow, the part that feels inferior, powerless, invisible, dominates his actions. And the more he denies the shadow, the more it controls him. Freud would say the underground man's superego is sadistic. He sets impossible standards for himself. And when he inevitably fails, the superego beats him down psychologically. The resentment he feels towards others is, in fact, self-loathing designed. But Dostoevsky doesn't use those terms. He simply show, and what he shows is disturbingly familiar. Have you ever stayed up until 3 a.m., replaying a conversation from years ago, wondering what did I say? Have you ever concocted elaborate revenge scenarios against someone who doesn't even remember you exist? Have you ever felt invisible in a room full of people? So you've already been to the underground. Subscribe now and turn on notifications, because this is the beginning of a complete series on the psychology of Dostoevsky in his literary composition. In the next episodes, we will have Crime and Punishment, The Idiot, The Demons, the Brothers Karamazov. And you can't miss this deeper journey into the life of a master of world literature. The underground man has a theory, a radical philosophical theory, and he presents it with the arrogance of someone who has discovered a truth that everyone else denies. Man doesn't want happiness. He wants freedom. He attacks the utopian rationalists of his time, people who believe that science and reason will solve everything, that humans are machines that calculate pleasure versus pain, that if you create a perfect system, socialism, capitalism, any ism, humans will automatically make rational choices and be happy. And the underground man laughs. Do you think that man always seeks his own interest? That he never acts against himself? Well, I say, man acts against his own interest all the time. Just to prove it can. Just to show it's not a piano key. It's not a gear. And then he gives a brutal example. Let's say you build a crystal palace, a perfect society. Everything organized, everything rational. No one needs to suffer. No one needs to choose. Everything is already optimized. Do you know what the man is going to do? He's going to kick the palace, destroy everything, just to prove that he is free. This is the most radical existentialist critique of utilitarianism and determinism. Dostoevsky is saying, human beings are not rational animals that seek pleasure. Human beings are creatures that you need freedom more than happiness, even if that freedom is the freedom to suffer, to self-destruct, to choose the irrational. Soon the underground man will do the most cruel and revealing thing you've ever seen in any literature. He's going to destroy the only person who tried to save him. And you'll understand why people sabotage relationships. Why do they run away from those who love them? Why do they prefer solitude to vulnerability? Just wait. The scene with Liza, when the shadow attacks. The second part of Notes from Underground, it's a narrative, and it's brutal. The underground man, years earlier, goes to a dinner party. He wasn't invited. He invites because I heard that former schoolmates are celebrating something. He arrives. Nobody wants him there. Everyone is more successful, happier, more alive. And him? He is a shadow, a ghost. He is a denunciation. They tolerate his presence but despise him. During dinner, he tries to participate in the conversations. He tries to make jokes. Nobody laughs. He tries to impress with his intellect. Everyone yawns. And slowly, painfully, he realizes he is completely invisible. So he does what invisible people do. He drinks too much. He gets aggressive. He insults everyone. And when the others go out to a brothel, he follows them. Not because he wants to, but because he can't stand being left alone. In the brothel, he meets Liza, a young prostitute, 20 years old, tired eyes, and something about her, perhaps her vulnerability, perhaps a reflection of his own misery, makes him start a conversation. And here, Dostoevsky does something brilliant. The man, the underground, begins to save Liza. He talks about her future, about how she will grow old, how she will be discarded, how she will die alone and forgotten. He paints such a dark, brutal picture that Liza begins to cry. And then, and here's the poison, he offers hope. He says she can change. She can get out of that life. She can have love, family, dignity, and he gives her his address. If you need me, go. I'll help you. Liza looks at him with gratitude, with hope, and the underground man returns home feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Here is the powerful, revealing, dark, and almost brutal psychological twist. The underground man didn't help Liza out of kindness. He helped her because for the first time he was superior to someone. For the first time, someone looked at him with admiration. She needed him, and when he gets home, the realization hits him like a punch. I lied. Everything I said was an act, manipulation. I don't want to save her. I wanted to feel important. And worse, he knows she's going to show up because he saw hope in her eyes. And when she shows up, she'll see who he really is. The underground, misery, failure. 3 days pass. He tries to convince himself that she won't come. But on the third day in the afternoon, there's a knock at the door. It's Liza. She enters his miserable room. She sees the poverty, the chaos, but she doesn't judge. She just sits, silent, waiting. And the underground man panics because he can't stand being seen. Not like that, not really. So he does the only thing he knows how to do: attack. He starts insulting her. Why did you come here? Out of pity? Do you think you can save me? You, a prostitute? Liza just listens. Tears stream down her face. Do you think you're better than me? I was nice to you because I was bored, because you were an experiment. Fun. Liza gets up to leave. And then, in a moment of devastating clarity, the underground man realizes she is the only person who truly saw him and didn't judge him. She didn't laugh at him. She didn't despise him. She simply accepted him. And he can't take it anymore. Because acceptance means vulnerability. It means being seen. And being seen means the death of the false ego. He falls to his knees. He hugs her legs and cries like a child. Forgive me, forgive me. I'm a monster. I am. And Liza, this woman whom society calls degraded, inferior, lost, does something extraordinary. She hugs him. He says nothing. He just holds it while it falls apart. Jungian Liza is the anima, the bridge to the unconscious, to the soul. The underground man lives entirely in his head, pure, hypertrophied conscious ego. But anima brings what he cannot access on his own: feeling, connection, humanity. And when she offers that, he gets terrified because accepting would mean admitting, "I need it, I am weak, I am human." Freud would say, the underground man's superego does not allow vulnerability. Vulnerability, weakness, unacceptable. So when Liza offers unconditional love, the superego counterattacks, "You don't deserve it, destroy it, sabotage it, run away." And that's exactly what happens. After things calm down, the underground man, and unable to bear the intimacy, shoves money into Liza's hand. Payment. As if she were a prostitute doing her job. Liza's gaze. Dostoevsky doesn't describe it. He doesn't need to. She leaves the money on the table and leaves, and the underground man runs to the window ready to shout, to beg her to come back, to truly apologize. But she can't. Her voice won't come out. The paralysis returns. He simply watches her disappear into the snow. And then it goes back underground. Have you ever sabotaged something good because you were afraid of being seen? Have you ever pushed away someone who loved you because vulnerability felt like death? Share this with one person you've distanced yourself from but still think about, because maybe there's still time to go back to the window and shout. I'll tell you in a minute, and you'll understand why Freud and Jung were 50 years behind the times. Because Dostoevsky already knew everything. And because in 2025, you are living exactly what the underground man lived in 1864. Because the underground is no place. It's a state of mind, and you're probably in it right now. Don't get out of it. Dostoevsky, Freud, and Jung. The Psychological Conspiracy Notes from Underground. It was published in 1864. Freud was born in 1856. He was 8 years old when the book was published. Jung was born in 1875, 11 years after the publication. And yet Dostoevsky had already mapped everything out. What Dostoevsky discovered before Freud: 1. The unconscious controls. Conscious actions. The underground man repeatedly acts against his own interests. He knows she's sabotaging herself, but she can't stop. Why? Because unconscious forces, repressed resentment, unacknowledged inferiority, need for punishment, control behavior. Freud systematized this acid ego superego in 1923, but Dostoevsky dramatized it in 1864. 2. Sadistic superego. The underground man has a relentless inner voice that judges him, condemns him, and demands impossible perfection. When he fails, which he always does, this voice psychologically beats him down. Freud would call this hypertrophied superego, a psychic instance that internalizes social and parental rules, becoming an internal tyrant. Dostoevsky doesn't use the term, but he illustrates it perfectly. I torture myself because I deserve it. I deserve it because I failed to be what I should have been. 3. Psychic masochism. The underground man enjoy. He doesn't suffer, not because he wants pain, but because pain proves that he exists, that he feels, that he's not a machine. Freud would develop a theory of moral masochism, an unconscious search for punishment to appease the superego. Dostoevsky already knew. Sometimes man loves suffering as much as happiness, perhaps even more. 4. Desire for recognition versus fear of being seen. The underground man wavers. He desperately wants others to see him, but when seen, he either attacks or flees. Freud would explore this in the dynamics narcissism vulnerability. A fragile ego needs external validation, but any criticism or even acceptance is felt as annihilation. What Dostoevsky discovered before Jung. 1. In the shade, Jung defined the shadow as everything we deny in ourselves. Qualities, impulses, desires that we exile to the unconscious because they contradict our conscious self-image. The underground Manon, the shadow personified. He is everything that civilized society represses: resentment, envy, gratuitous cruelty, deliberate irrationality, the need to assert power over others. And Dostoevsky forces you to identify with him, because you recognize those impulses in yourself. You don't want to acknowledge it, but you do. Jung diría, everyone carries a shadow. The less it is incorporated into conscious life, the darker and denser it becomes. The underground man never integrates with the shadow, so it consumes him. 2. A persona versus O-self. Real Jung distinguished person, social mask we use. Self, the true totality of the psyche. The underground man lives entirely within a failed persona. He wants to be seen as superior, intellectual, special, but their persona constantly cracks, revealing a miserable self underneath, and he can't stand the discrepancy. So he runs away, to the basement, where there are no mirrors, where there are no others to reflect who he really is. 3. Failed individuation. Jung viewed individuation as a process of becoming whole, integrating conscious and unconscious, persona and shadow, ego and self. The underground man's narrative arc is an individuation, aborted. Liza offers a path. Be seen, be vulnerable, integrate your broken humanity, but he refuses. He prefers the solitude of the underground to the risk of integration. Jung diría, there is no light without shadow, nor psychic wholeness without imperfection. The underground man wants perfection, intellectual superiority. Therefore, you never achieve totality. Why did Dostoevsky arrive first? Freud and Jung were scientists. They built theories. They conducted experiments. They systematized. Dostoevsky was an artist, experiential. He faced a firing squad, a deadly confrontation. He spent 4 years in a Siberian prison, forced contact with the collective shadow. He suffered from epilepsy, altered states of consciousness. He was addicted to gambling, experienced irrational compulsion, lost wife, brother, son, deep grief. He didn't need to theorize about the unconscious. Hell of a immersed in it. And when I was writing, I wasn't explaining. I was showing, dramatizing, making it concrete. That is why Notes from Underground it rings truer than many psychological treatises, because it's not theory, it's testimony. If you've made it this far, in the comments, I'm in the basement, because honesty about where you are is the first step to getting out of it. Today, and the underground epidemic, 160 years after Notes from Underground, we live in a world that Dostoevsky predicted with frightening accuracy. Hyperconsciousness as a modern disease. The underground man suffers from excessive awareness. He overthinks. He overanalyzes. And this endless analysis paralyzes him. In 2025, we have access to endless therapy, online, apps, podcasts. Psychological language permeates everything. Trauma triggers boundaries. Self-help is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And yet, rates of anxiety, depression, and loneliness have never been higher. Why? Because like the underground man, we live in our heads. We analyzed, we dissected, we named everything. But analysis is not transformation. Thinking about feelings is not the same as feeling them. Understanding your shadow is not the same as integrating it. Dostoevsky warned, excessive awareness without action leads to paralysis. It leads to living underground, observing life through the window instead of participating. 2. Radical freedom and self-sabotage. The underground man defends the right to irrationality, the right to act against one's own self-interest. And in 2025, we see this constantly. People sabotaging healthy relationships, deliberate procrastination even with clear deadlines, choose infinite scrolling over restorative sleep, staying in toxic jobs when there are alternatives. Why? Dostoevsky would say, because the freedom to choose the irrational proves that we are human, not algorithms. Algorithms optimize. Humans resist optimization. Sometimes we deliberately choose worse because the choice is more important than the result is. 3. Social invisibility and social networks. The underground man suffers because he is invisible. No one sees him, no one recognizes him. By 2025, we have Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, tools designed for visibility. And yet, we have never felt so invisible. Why? Because on social media, you are not seen. Your persona is seen. You post a curated version of yourself because nobody posts stories of pillows soaked in tears, failures, self-flagellation, seeking validation, likes, comments, shares. But validation is never satisfactory because it isn't. You being validated, it's your mask. And when the mask cracks, when you post something real and receive silence, you do exactly what the underground man does. Escape to the digital underground, stop posting, just observe, judge, resent. 4. The paradox of modern connection. Liza offers the underground man exactly what he says he wants. Real connection. To see and be seen. No judgment, just presence. And he runs away. By 2025, we will have more ways to connect than any generation in history. Video calls, instant messaging, social media, dating apps, online communities, and yet, epidemic of loneliness. Why? Because real connection requires vulnerability. It demands showing not only highlights but shadows. It demands the risk of rejection, the risk of being seen completely and still not being loved. And like the underground man, we prefer the solitude of the underground to the risk of intimacy. 5. Optimization theory, Braz. The need for chaos. Modern culture is obsessed with optimization, maximum productivity, perfect efficiency, biohacking, growth mindset. 5. AM clubs, meticulously planned routines, etc., etc. And the underground man would laugh at all of that, because he knows humans need irrationality. They need chaos. They need the freedom to choose the non-optimal, not because it's better, but because choice itself, even a stupid choice, is an affirmation of humanity against mechanization. Write it down so you can read it. What is your basement level? Infinite scrolling at 3 a.m., sabotaging relationships before being abandoned, paralyzing analysis instead of action, perfect persona on social media, empty inside, preferring solitude to the risk of rejection. Share this video with someone who's in the underground and won't admit it, because the first step to leaving is to name, to give a name to, where you are. The exit from the underground, or why Dostoevsky wrote 4 more novels. Notes from underground. It ends without redemption. The underground man remains underground. Liza disappears. Nothing changes. And you might ask, so there is no hope? And Dostoevsky's answer comes in the following books. Yes, but it requires something the underground man doesn't have: the courage to die. There is no death. Physical. Death of the false ego. 2 years later, Notes from Underground. Dostoevsky writes Crime and Punishment. Raskolnikov is Underground Man 2.0, but with action. He stops just thinking about superiority. He commits murder to prove his theory. And what happens? The same psychological breakdown. But this time there is Sonia, the redeeming anima. And Raskolnikov, unlike the underground man, eventually accepted. He helps. He agrees to be seen. He confesses. And in Siberia, he is reborn. So exiting the underground involves several steps. 1. Shadow recognition. I am not superior. I am capable of evil. I am ordinary. 2. Acceptance of vulnerability. I need others. I can't save myself alone. 3. Death of the false ego. To let die the identity built around being special, unique, misunderstood. 4. Integration. Accept that you are light and shadow, rational and irrational, strong and weak. 5. Action. despite imperfection. Don't wait to be ready or healed. Act broken. Connect broken. Live broken. And Dostoevsky spent the rest of his life exploring this. The Idiot, 1869. What happens when Christ, pure goodness, pure innocence, enters the modern world? He is destroyed, because pure goodness cannot withstand the complexity of real human beings. The Demons, 1872. What happens when the collective shadow is denied, when society utterly represses irrationality? Revolution, chaos, murderous nihilism. The Brothers Karamazov, 1880. The ultimate masterpiece. 3 brothers, 3 answers to the problem of evil. Ivan, reason, goes mad. Dmitri, passion, accepts redemptive suffering. Alyosha, love, integrates everything. Each book is an attempt to answer, how can we live fully after having seen and experienced the underground? And the answer is never simple. It's never 5 steps. It's never optimization. It's always radical love, acceptance of suffering, death of the ego, rebirth and vulnerability. A gift from Dostoevsky to you. Dostoevsky died in 1881. He was 59 years old. He suffered from epilepsy, emphysema, and pulmonary hemorrhage. His funeral in St. Petersburg drew 60,000 people, more than any politician, more than any general. Why? Because he did something that no one else had done. Told the truth about being human. Not the pretty truth, not the optimistic truth. The truth, complete, that you are capable of extraordinary kindness and banal cruelty. You want connection, but you run away from it. You seek happiness, but sabotage it when you find it. That you are rational and profoundly irrational, and that all of this is fine, not because it's good, but because it is human. Dostoevsky's gift is not a solution. It is a mirror. When you read notes from Underground, don't leave thinking, what a horrible character. You leave thinking, damn it, that's me. And this recognition, this moment of seeing the shadow and not running away, is the beginning of everything. Because you can't integrate what you don't see, what you don't name. You cannot cure what you deny. You can't leave the underground if you don't admit you're there. Episode 2, Crime and Punishment. The Psychology of Guilt and the Superego That Never Sleeps. Episode 3, The Idiot Christ in the Modern World and Why Pure Goodness is Not Enough. Episode 4, The Demon's Nihilism, Revolution, and What Happens When Society Loses God. Episode 5, The Brothers Karamazov, The Ultimate Masterpiece, Freedom, Evil, Love. Comment which one you want to see first. More likes, faster production, and share this video with someone. Not with someone who needs help, but with someone you think would understand. Someone who's also been to the underground. Someone who's also seen the shadow and didn't run away. Dostoevsky doesn't save you. He just holds up the mirror so you can see yourself. What you do after you see yourself is up to you. May your basement be illuminated. May your shadow be integrated. May your Liza not disappear in the snow.